Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into quite a complex fictional world. It's presented across this collection of sources called the Skein of Lament.
Yeah, it's definitely dense. You've got all these interwoven plots, really fascinating characters, and some reveals that are, well, genuinely shocking.
Right. So, our goal here, for you listening, is to kind of guide you through all that complexity. We want to pull out the essentials.
Exactly. The key players, the big conflicts, the hidden forces, basically give you a shortcut to getting a handle on this rich setting.
Think of it as like the insider's guide to a whole new reality. Okay, let's start unpacking this. Where does this story even take place?
Well, we're mainly in the land called Saramyr and some of the areas around it. The sources drop us right into some very uh, distinct locations. First up, there's the Okamba jungle.
And the heat there is supposed to be intense, right? Like almost unbearable.
That's how it's described. A real trial by fire, as you said. That's where some key journeys kick off.
Okay, so jungle survival. Then where?
Hmm.
Towards the coast.
Yeah, we get introduced to important port cities. There's Kasanth, which sounds like a bustling kind of hub.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hanzin, it's described as older, maybe more influential. It was actually the first Saramyr settlement on that continent, so it has history.
An older power base.
And the capital city.
Axikami. That's the grand capital of the Saramyr Empire. The descriptions are quite vivid. It's built where two rivers meet.
Oh, okay.
And it has this really striking imperial keep. Almost like a pyramid, but with a top sliced off and a temple on top.
Wow.
Yeah, covered in carvings, spirits, demons, that sort of thing. Ancient blessings on the gates. Clearly a place of immense power, but also, layers and layers of history.
So grand cities, but not all sunshine and roses. You mentioned scarred places, too.
Right, like the town of Zila. It gets ravaged later on, becomes a real flashpoint in the conflict.
Okay.
And then there's this really intriguing geographical feature, the Zarana Fault.
The fault, yeah. Sounds ominous. It's described as treacherous, broken land, a place where secrets are hidden. And somewhere inside it, there's a settlement known only as the Fold.
The Interesting name. And the sky itself is different.
Very different. Two suns, Nuki and Iridima.
Two suns.
Yeah. And just one moon, Naren. And you should pay attention to these because the sources hint they're actually tied into the deeper mystical stuff going on.
Fascinating. Adds a whole different feel, doesn't it?
Okay.
So who lives under these two suns? It's not one unified culture.
Not at all.
Huh?
We see very distinct cultures. Saramyr, obviously. They're focused on these powerful high families, strict traditions, a central religion, but their society has internal strains, and this kind of strained reliance on, well, certain figures we'll get into.
Okay, the Saramyr. Who else?
Then you have the Qural. They seem more aristocratic, maybe, different religious views, centered on a god called Ichthys.
Ichthys. Got it.
And finally, the Tikurathi. They're presented as really stealthy, very pragmatic. Their focus is all on what they call the Pash. Individual needs come second.
Right, the group focus. And these cultural differences, they matter, don't they, in how people interact?
Oh, absolutely. They shape the characters, their motivations, their conflicts. It's crucial context.
Okay, so we've got the lay of the land, the unique sky, the clashing cultures. Let's talk people. Who are the main characters we need to track?
The sources really zoom in on a few. We start with Saran. He's a Qural noble.
From the aristocratic culture?
Right. Described as incredibly handsome, but also quite vain. His rigid adherence to Qural tradition is obvious, like he's wearing tight, fancy clothes even in that brutal jungle heat.
Doesn't sound practical.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But he's patient, apparently skilled with a rifle, and carries this platinum icon showing his connection to Ichthys.
Okay, Saran. And he's not alone in the jungle?
No, he's with Sada, his Kirathi companion. And Sada is the complete opposite.
The pragmatic one.
Exactly. Stealthy, calm, heavily tattooed, very practical. Deadly with a gutting hook, apparently. Their whole initial struggle to survive in Okamba really highlights these contrasting personalities and, worldviews.
And this is where Kaiku comes in.
Yes, this is where we first meet Kaiku. She's Saramyr. Trained by someone named Kalen, skilled with a rifle, a sword, and something called Kana.
Kana. Some kind of power.
Seems like it. Her path is clearly tied to a deity, Ocha, and she's driven by this need for vengeance. Her early time with Saran and Sada involves surviving these dangerous creatures, Rukushai Makarin.
And that's where Sada uses her as bait, right? That pragmatic Tirathi thing.
Precisely. Which, understandably, really frustrates Kaiku. It's a stark moment showing that Pash mindset, the individual sacrifice for the group.
Yeah, I can see how that would cause friction.
And during these moments, we also get glimpses of Kaiku changing. Her iris is darkened to red sometimes.
Oh.
Something powerful is developing in her.
Okay, red irises.
Hmm.
Noted. So they're struggling in the jungle. What about Mishani? You mentioned her.
Right, Mishani. She's introduced as the daughter of one of those high Saramyr families, Blood Coley, and she's friends with Kaiku and another important character, Lucia.
So she's from the elite. Her journey is different.
Completely different path.
Yeah.
She travels from Okamba and Kisanth, but by sea. She meets a merchant named Chien,
Okay.
but it's not smooth sailing. She survives an assassination attempt in Hanzé, that older port city. She seems to know it well, though, her mission. She's heading south to La Yara to finally meet her true father.
Wait, her true father, so not the Blood Coley guy.
No, Barakzan Tuikati. That's the name. It's one layer of the family drama.
Okay, Barakzan. So her legal father is Avun Tukoli.
Yes. And her relationship with her mother, Meraki, is also complicated. We learn later, Meraki has been secretly protecting Mishani through Chien. It suggests she knows Avun is dangerous.
Wow. Okay, so family secrets, protection, danger. A lot going on there.
It's a very tangled web.
All right. And then there's Lucia, also friends with Kaiku and Mishani.
Yes. Lucia is Barakzan's daughter, the man Mishani is trying to reach. And the sources place her mainly in the fold.
That settlement in the Fault.
Right. And her presence there is troubled. There's some kind of unknown trauma mentioned. She's incredibly sensitive to spirits or entities, and people like Zales and Kaiku are really concerned about her.
So she's vulnerable, maybe powerful?
Something like that.
Yeah.
These are the core people whose paths start weaving together as the bigger picture unfolds.
Okay, got the people, got the places.
Mm.
But you mentioned mystical stuff. There's more to this world than just what you see.
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole hidden dimension. The central concept is the weave.
The weave.
It's described as this invisible realm, like the actual fabric of reality. And the key thing is, it can be manipulated.
So magic.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And way out in the distance of this weave, there are these huge ancient beings called Leviathans. They seem aware of things.
Leviathans in the fabric of reality. Okay.
And the ones doing the manipulating are the weavers.
Exactly. The weavers, they're feared, very enigmatic figures. You always see them in these distinct masks and patchwork clothes.
What do they do publicly? Publicly, they preach against beings they call aberrants, monsters, basically, and teach people how to spot them. But the sources give us more. Their manipulation of the weave. It's described as clumsy, kind of brutal, especially compared to another group.
Okay. Clumsy but powerful. And they haven't always been around.
Well, they've been around but confined to the mountains. The really crucial detail is that over the last 5 years, their influence and movement across Saramyr have massively increased.
5 years. Okay, that sounds deliberate. A specific time frame.
Definitely feels significant.
And their main public focus is these aberrants. What are they? Just monsters.
They're presented as fundamentally evil, deformed. Some are physically twisted, but others are more subtle, maybe hiding powers. We hear about different kinds. The fast Rukushai, the more humanoid Makran, super strong Gaurags, noisy shrillings.
Yearlings.
Yeah, even weird hybrids like gristle crows. And they're explicitly linked to something called the Blight.
The Blight. So aberrants are the monsters on the ground. Do they have leaders or handlers?
They do. This is a huge reveal in the sources. Tall figures in black cowls, featureless masks. They're called nexuses.
Nexuses. Are they weavers?
No, that's the twist. They're human symbiotes, controlled by things called nexus worms.
Worms. Controlling people.
Get this. The female worms control the males, and the male symbiotes control the aberrants. It's this bizarre biological hierarchy.
Wow. Okay, that is unexpected. So it's not mind control exactly.
The sources say the connection isn't perfect. The nexus handler doesn't get, like, full access to everything the aberrant knows. It's more direct control.
Human symbiotes controlled by worms, controlling monsters? Okay, that's a lot. Where do the weavers themselves get their power? If it's clumsy, maybe it's not innate.
Another critical insight. It comes from witch stones.
Witch stones.
Initially, they're just mentioned as weird stones from the mountains, but later, it's revealed they're the absolute source of weaver power. And more, they're like a collective consciousness driving the weavers.
A hive mind almost.
Sort of. And these aren't just magic rocks. They are fragments of the moon god Erkarat.
Fragments of the moon. Naren.
Seems like it, or an older aspect maybe.
Yeah.
Erkarat. And crucially, using them requires blood sacrifices.
Blood sacrifices to a moon god fragment. Okay, so the weavers aren't the ultimate villains then. They're tools or addicts maybe.
That's exactly the implication. They're empowered but controlled by these witch stones. It fundamentally changes who or what the real antagonist is.
Are there any other groups who mess with the weave? You mentioned the weaver's power was clumsy compared to someone.
Yes. In stark contrast, there's a secret group,
Yeah.
the Sisters of the Red Order.
Secret.
Women trained by Kaylin, remember she trained Kaiku too.
Okay.
And their manipulation of the weave is described as skillful, subtle, like threading a needle compared to the weaver's brute force.
Sisters of the Red Order. So a hidden, skilled counterpoint to the public, feared weavers.
Exactly, a different way of interacting with that fundamental power.
Okay, gods, magic reality fabric, monsters, symbiotes, god fragments, secret societies. With all this churning underneath, the regular politics must be a mess.
Oh, it is deep turmoil, especially in the capital, Axikami. Saramyr society there is dominated by these powerful blood families.
Like nobility.
Pretty much. The major houses,
Uh-huh.
Batik, Koli, Karistan, Ikati, Mumaka, Green. It's all political maneuvering strategic marriages. Like the Emperor Mo's having annulled the marriage in Blood Batik. Constant power struggles is just how things work there.
And the imperial family itself, Bloodmatic, is at the top.
Yeah.
The Emperor Mose. You said he's having a hard time.
Tragic figure, yeah. He's consumed by grief over his dead son, Durun. He's become paranoid. And someone is exploiting that.
Ooh.
A weave lord named Kakre.
A weave lord. So a high-ranking weaver.
Seems like it. Powerful, manipulative. The sources link him directly to gruesome experiments, torture. He's controlling Emperor Mose through fear, basically pulling the strings.
Not good. And things get dramatic in the imperial keep.
Extremely. Moses' paranoia leads to hallucinations, a violent fight with his wife, Empress Loranya.
Oh.
Yeah. She's depicted as strong-minded, friends with a poet named Ezel. Her younger brother, Reki, is also friends with Ezel. Seems innocent, but the tension explodes. Loranya dies.
Oh.
It's murky at first. Mose claims suicide after their fight. But later, someone else confesses to murdering her.
Who? Is this where Sara comes in? The one who looked like Saran?
Yes. And this is a huge twist. Asara isn't Saran. She's some kind of entity, changing shape. Kaylin, the sisters' leader, sent her just to observe the imperial family.
Just observe. But she does more.
Way more. And her motives seem selfish, different from the others fighting the weavers or protecting the fold. She seduces the young brother, Reki. Then she murders Empress Loranya.
Murders the Empress.
And then, to top it off, she deliberately starts a civil war. She takes hair from Loranya and Reki to Barak Green, another blood family head, as proof Mose killed his wife. Cold, calculated chaos ignition.
Wow. Okay, so Asara, this mysterious entity, throws the entire empire into civil war. While the capital implodes, the conflict must be spreading outwards, right, to places like Zilla.
Absolutely. The sources follow Mishani and her protector, Chin, heading towards Zila. Their journey is dangerous. They're actively avoiding men loyal to Barak Avun.
Mishani's legal father. The Koli guy.
Right. And the indirect route they take. It really suggests Chin is acting on Mishani's mother, Meraki's orders, keeping her daughter away from Avun, who she clearly knows is bad news.
So they reach Zila. What's happening there?
Zila is an open revolt against the Empire. It's under siege. The Imperial Army is there, including troops from different blood families and even some local collaborators.
Collaborators.
Yeah.
Messy. Who's defending the town?
They call themselves the Ayaz Maraksa, led by a man named Bakara. He seems protective, gets drawn to Mishani, and becomes a rallying figure. He even invokes Lucia's name to inspire people.
Lucia. Barak Zan's daughter in the fold. Interesting. And what about Barak Avun, Mishani's father? What's his role in the bigger picture?
He's revealed as absolutely ruthless, deeply allied with Kakri and the Weavers. He helped orchestrate the takeover in Axikami. He's even causing famine by hoarding food supplies. Rebellion to him is just unacceptable. He despises people like Grigi who resist. Alman is the fist of this new Weaverback regime.
Sounds charming. The siege itself must be brutal.
Harrowing descriptions. Rain, shellfire, chaos. A weaver uses one of those masks to influence guards, open a gate. The Imperial forces pour in.
Oh, no.
The final fight is desperate in the town plaza. Bakara leads a defiant charge, dies, but shouts Lucia's name with his last breath. The town falls. And the aftermath is grim retribution, shame for the survivors.
A total tragedy. And while Zila burns, Avun is rising.
Exactly. He consolidates power in Axikami, becomes Lord Protector, basically ruling for the Weavers.
Okay.
Establishes a new force, the Blackguard.
Blackguard. Okay.
Though there's a brief mention. When he hears about Lucia, presumably that she might be alive or a symbol, he becomes emotionally numb. Just a flicker of something complex under the surface, maybe.
Interesting. Okay, so devastation in Zila, Avun in power. Meanwhile, back in the Zarana Fault, people are digging into the Weaver secrets, right? Lucia.
Yes, this is where we get a massive piece of the puzzle. Lucia, in the fold, has this intense vision or communication at an old shrine, Skein, and she reveals something shocking to Flynn.
What?
The Weavers, they are not the true enemy.
Not the enemy after all this.
They're puppets, addicts, controlled by the witch stones. And those witch stones are confirmed as fragments of the moon god Erikarat. It completely reframes the entire conflict.
So weavers are just symptoms controlled by these god fragments. Wow.
Exactly. While Lucia figures this out, Kaiku, Sata, and two others, Yugi and Nomoru, are exploring the fault nearby, facing dangers, a weird barrier that messes with your head.
And Sada has some thoughts on Saramyr society here.
He does a really interesting cultural critique. He tells Kaiku that Saramyr's focus on wealth, laws, individual ambition is making them selfish, destroying their own foundations.
And Kaiku argues back.
Yeah, she points out the benefits medicine, philosophy. But Sada's point about the Tirathi Pash versus Saramyr individualism really lands. It's a fundamental clash right in the middle of this dangerous trek.
Fascinating. What disturbing things do they find on this trek?
Using a spyglass, they see pens, holding twisted aberrants, just horrors kept like cattle.
Grim. And something else reveals the scale of the Weaver operation.
Yes, down by the Zan River. A massive operation. Weavers loading aberrants onto barges. It confirms they're not just random monsters. They're building and moving a real army.
An aberrant army on barges. Where are they going? This leads them underground.
It leads them to investigate the source. They descend into this huge underground Weaver complex.
What's it like?
Industrial nightmare. Pipes, furnaces, huge machinery, mining gear, noise, heat, smoke everywhere. Little servants called Gulnari scurrying around. It's vast, deeply unsettling.
And the purpose of all this industry?
It's a massive drainage system. They're pumping colossal amounts of water out of a deep shaft that connects to the Zan River.
Why? To get to something.
To get to a buried witchstone. The sheer scale shows how determined the Weavers, or whatever controls them, are.
A buried god fragment? Did they see more aberrants down there?
Yeah, imprisoned ones. Behind bars.
Yeah.
Including one described as just a small wrecked thing. It hints at the terrible process of how aberrants are made.
Horrifying. And they finally figure out the nexuses down there.
Yes, during a fight with Shrillings in a nexus.
Yeah.
They confirm the symbiote worm thing. And putting it all together, they grasp the full Weaver plan.
Which is?
Decades in the making. Build an army in secret. Use the last 5 years of increased freedom to get ready. That unleash hordes from the mountains and rivers simultaneously. Cut off communications, the nobles rely on Weavers for messages, remember? Overthrow the high families. Rule through fear, using Avun as their public face.
A massive long-term conspiracy coming to a head right now. Which brings us to the climax in that shaft.
Right. Kaiku and Sada get trapped down there. Aberrants are coming. The way out is sealed. Looks like the end.
But Kaiku changes somehow.
She does. Moves past despair. And her bond with Sada deepens incredibly. The text says she feels the cannot do without the other, like they've become a single entity. It's more than just teamwork now.
A real connection forged in crisis, and Sada has the main job, destroy the witchstone.
Yes, that's the only way. But as fuses are wet, they won't light.
Uh-oh. And Kaiku, she does something unexpected.
Something incredibly brave and a huge gamble. She lies to Sada.
Lies.
She tells him her kana, her power, can ignite the fuses from a distance. She's totally unsure if she can actually do it, especially being so drained.
Why lie?
To get him to safety. To make him leave so he can place the charges and destroy the stone. She knows everything depends on it. Not only my life at stake, she thinks. She has to ensure the mission succeeds, even if she doesn't survive.
Wow. That's quite a moment. Does he believe her?
He trusts her. He leaves to set the charges. And Kaiku prepares to face a Weaver down there, in the weave itself.
And the Weaver's reaction is telling.
Very. When Sada gets near the witchstone, the Weaver fighting Kaiku basically ignores her, completely focused on the stone's distress. It confirms how enslaved they are to it.
And Sada succeeds.
He does. He destroys the witchstone.
What happens then?
A massive shockwave, felt even by those distant leviathans in the weave. The Weavers connected to that stone. Their minds just scatter. They become confused, disoriented.
Leaderless.
Exactly. And in the weave, the Sisters of the Red Order who were fighting them find it suddenly easy to defeat the now bewildered Weaver consciousnesses in that area.
So a major victory, locally at least. What about Kaiku and Sada?
They somehow get out of the complex, find themselves back in the ravine above ground. Beautiful scenery, total contrast to the hell below. Nomoru and Yugi find them. They follow Nomoru's ravens. Kaishu's just completely spent.
Understandable. So that specific witch stone is gone. The weavers in the fault region are weakened, but the war isn't over.
Not by a long shot. Let's recap the board state quickly. Zila has fallen. Avum is Lord Protector in Axikami, backed by weavers and Kakre. Bloodbatik, the Emperor's family, is essentially wiped out. Civil war is ignited, thanks to Asara framing Mose for Laranya's murder and sending Reki to Barak Green. But the Fault Witchstone is destroyed, and the weavers attacking the Fold settlement are defeated in the weave.
A mixed bag, then. Victory in one area, disaster elsewhere. What about Barak Zahn, Mishani's father?
His journey finally pays off. He gets information tortured out of someone named Sejin, then passed through a weaver named Farrak, confirming Lucia is alive, just like Mishani claimed.
Tortured information. Okay.
He rides hard and fast with his Bloodikati cavalry through the Fault, which is now safer because the local witchstone is gone, and arrives at the Fold.
Just in time for the battle there. Is it still going on?
Yes, the final stand at the Fold. Defenders are desperate, fighting Aberrants who are literally using corpses as ramps to climb defenses. The Red Order's work in the weave is helping against the remaining weavers, but the physical fight is brutal. Then Zahn's cavalry slams into the Gauregs, these huge, tough Aberrants. Terrible combat described.
And Lucia, what's her experience in this final assault?
She's just standing there amidst the death. A weaver tries to mentally dominate Zales and Yugi near her, but Lucia seems to resist it somehow, showing some implied power. Then Nomoru arrives.
The one who is with Kaiku and Sokka.
Yeah, guided by her ravens again. She shoots the weaver, saving them.
And we learn more about Nomoru here, her past.
A lot more. Turns out, Nomori wasn't originally from the Fault. She was born in Axikami's poor quarter. Addiction, then abducted. Taken to a Weave Lord Virch in the Imperial Keep itself.
Virch, another Weave Lord like Cocker.
Exactly. And it's heavily implied she was forcibly changed, made into some kind of aberrant herself. She has this tattoo outline of the true mask, the face of Eric Red, or maybe Virch. Her fight is driven by pure hatred for Weavers, pure revenge.
Wow, another hidden, painful history driving a character. So the battle at the Fold ends.
It seems so. The aftermath is described as quiet but devastated. And there's a significant detail. Survivors, aberrant and non-aberrant alike, are helping each other, bonds forming across those lines. Then Zahn and Mishani arrive. Zahn finally sees Lucia, except she's alive.
A reunion amidst the ruins. And Kaylin, the sisters' leader, what's her take?
She perceives the sisters' victory in the weave against the weakened Fold Weavers. But she also notes the Leviathans are agitated, communicating. It suggests destroying one stone hasn't ended the real threat. That ancient power is still out there. She's already planning her next moves.
Okay, wow, what a journey. So we've gone from jungle survival through the backstabbing politics of Axikami, deep into the mystical weave. We've uncovered the truth about Aberrants, nexuses, the controlling witchstone, seen civil war explode, a town fall, a desperate defense succeed, and learned about these incredibly deep character histories.
Yeah, we've hit some really surprising points, realizing the Weavers are essentially controlled addicts. The witchstones being actual god fragments, the Nexus symbiote structure, Nomoru's origins. Asara's calculated betrayal. It shifts your whole understanding of what's going on.
So for you listening, hopefully you've now got a solid grasp of the core complexities laid out in these Skein of Lament sources. You understand the players, the hidden forces, what's driving this massive conflict.
So here's something to chew on. One big witchstone is destroyed. The Weavers near the Fold are reeling. But the Aven Weaver regime is firmly in control of the capital, and civil war is tearing the empire apart. What does the future actually hold for Saramyr now? Is the fight against this ancient power behind the stones really over? Or is this just the beginning of something even more chaotic? And what roles will Lucia, Kaiku, Sata, Mishani, Zahn, Nomoru, all these characters we followed, what roles will they play as the skein continues to unravel?
A lot to think about. Definitely leaves you wondering where things go next.